preeminent guest speaker and resource person, Dr. Jurgenne Primavera, to the organizers of today's webinar, Area 1 Cluster 3 team, led by President Giselle of Manila 1, President Lizelle of Manila 2, and President Jonah of Baliuag. To all Zonta dignitaries present and members and guests, good morning. After 103 years since the foundation of Zonta, it is only on this biennium, 2022 to 2024, that climate change was included in the ZI focus area. This year's International Women's Day theme, Gender Equality Today for a Sustainable Tomorrow, acknowledges the contribution of women and girls who are leading the charge on climate change adaptation, mitigation, and response to build a more sustainable future for us all. One of the means for us Zontians to partake in this thrust is through mangrove planting. Why is it essential for us to protect mangrove forests? Allow me to share 5 reasons. 1, mangroves are a natural coastal defense. The sturdy root systems of mangrove trees will protect coastline areas, slow erosion, thus prevent flooding and worsening storm surges. They are carbon sinks. Mangroves store more carbon dioxide from the atmosphere, thus slow down global warming. They provide livelihood. The community can utilize the mangroves as reliable source of woods, plant extracts, and the forest waters can provide rich supply of fish, crabs, and shellfish for the locals, a source of income. They encourage ecotourism. Community can generate income through sport fishing, kayaking, and bird watching tours. And lastly, they are rich in biodiversity. Mangroves form nutrient-rich breeding ground for numerous species below and above the waterline. In a statement released on World Environment Day, Zonta International called for human rights-based approach to solve the climate change crisis in the post-pandemic world. We Zontians are called to increase our awareness on climate change and include gendered climate change advocacy actions in our advocacy plans. As Zonta International President Sharon Langenbeck said, and I quote, "Climate change is a human rights issue, and we must act now to create a sustainable and gender equal future." Thank you.
Mangrove seedling planting in Noveleta, Cavite. So these are the photos that we have to share with you while President Rose Lim tells us about the project. President Rose?
We Zontians is a firm believer on the sayings that conservation of natural resources is the key to the future. Mangrove planting is one act of saving our Mother Earth. Zonta Greater Rizal 2, together with the 15 clubs of District 17, Area 1, and other clubs, was able to raise 12,000 mangrove seedlings. We, as Zontians, need to intervene and protect the remaining mangroves forests and help restore new ones. These activities was held on October 28, 2023 at El Pasio Coastal Bay, San Rafael, Noveleta, Cavite. And these are the pictures of our activities.
I have the honor and privilege of introducing our distinguished guest speaker today, who spends a lot of time in the field. So she is a mangrove botanist. She is an expert on the plants, the trees that grow on mangroves and beach forests. She is the Chief Mangrove Scientific Advisor of the Zoological Society of London. She has degrees in zoology and marine science. She has about 170 scientific papers, reviews, manuals, and books and other publications in aquaculture, since she was also involved in shrimp and prawn aquaculture at Ph.D, and mangrove conservation and rehabilitation and beach forest ecosystems, over 5 decades of research. So you can guess her age group. But she's still indefatigable. The impact of her body of work can be gauged by what we scientists know as the high Hirsch index of 54, number of publications with 54 citations, and 18,582 citations from all over the world. She's given so many lectures and presentations in national and international conferences, and she has been awarded a Ph.D. in Science honoris causa by Stockholm University, elected to the Swedish Royal Academy on Agriculture and Forestry, the Royal Belgian Academy for Overseas Sciences, Phi Kappa Phi Honor Society, and other honor societies. She was awarded the Shinkishi Hattai Medal from the Pacific Science Association, named Scientist Emerita of Phi Aquaculture Development, one of 30 Time Magazine Heroes of the Environment, and 50 DOST Men and Women of Science in 2008, and a University of the Philippines Distinguished Alumni Awardee in Environmental Conservation in 2009. She is a member of the Philippine National Academy of Science and Technology and a Pew Fellow in Marine Conservation in the United Kingdom. So, ladies and gentlemen, let us warmly welcome this treasure trove and national treasure of knowledge on marine ecosystems, and now specifically to talk to us about mangrove and beach forest ecosystems, and relinquish the floor to Dr. Jurgenne Primavera.
Here we see a side view of the mangrove below and the beach forest above. So the first protection of beach forest, they are above the high tide level, is really escaping effect during storms, trapping effect, and energy dissipation. That's coastal protection. That's the science. And a very well cited paper in 2012 shows that the energy from storms, as seen by the height of the waves, can be dissipated, absorbed, reduced by both physical factors, the depth, the distance traveled, and especially the biological factors, the vegetation, the size of trees, their density, and so on. So those would be the mangroves and the beach forests. And the paper says that if you want to reduce the energy from regular waves, what we call the wind waves, swell waves, by 60%, you need a 100-meter green belt. Please note that. If you want to reduce it by almost 100%, then you need 1/2 kilometer wide of wind belt. But let's stick to 100 meters and look at this image from, I think, Indonesia during the tsunami, when a wave 6 to 7 meters high passed through about 100 meters of vegetation and was reduced to only 1.6 meters above ground. So this is really not rocket science, not to see how vegetation can act as green belts. Vegetation can absorb energy from storms. Now, looking at the average Philippine coastline, we get only about 20, maybe up to 50 meters wide of mangroves. And if you remember 100 meters, where do we get the balance? So that would be from the beach forest. We said upward of the high tide line. And here we can see in Negros Occidental very clearly the mangrove forest intertidal between the high and low tide, and the beach forest supratidal above the high tide. Together, they form the coastal greenbelt. And also in Palawan, we see here the mangrove forest with the beach forest at the back, but where the slope is steep, you cannot have a mangrove forest. It needs a gentle slope, so you just have the beach forest to undertake the function of coastal protection, which is really pure physics. No? If we have some physicists in the audience, just compute. For example, in Giwan, Eastern Samar, it's too strong also. It's too unprotected, the coastline. You cannot have mangroves, and they only have beach forests, as we can see here. Unfortunately, in most of the country, we have what? Coconut forests and nipahat forests, where we should have beach forests because they were cut down a long time ago. And during typhoons, as we can see here, they are not at all effective in protecting. So let's go back to science. We have the lowland rainforest, which is really intergrading into the beach forest. That's number 8, and the mangrove forest. To the left, we see the figures, because I really prefer to have figures to illustrate my concepts. There, those are the forest types that we are concerned with. And we have documentation, 2 books here on mangroves and beach forest species. These are available, by the way. So let's go to the coastal protection function first. This is a dita tree. And in Quezon City, this tree, during Ondoy, 37 of the community people clung to the tree. Now, use your imagination to see how 37 people saved their lives, so that the mayor here, vice mayor, they put a plaque to this tree for saving people. So just one tree, no, saving 37 lives. And this is the tree that we see in UST. That's Dita. Go back to Yolanda. We have the mangroves, and we also have beach forests. These are talisay and bani. And this bani, okay, there's a scientific name there, still standing after a typhoon. And another beach forest species, again, piagao is the common name, still standing after a typhoon. So here, after Yolanda, Tacloban, which was really severely hit, put up a gray seawall from the city, this line here that you see, down to Palo. This is Palo. You don't have a seawall here. This is a seawall, and when Giselle and I and other NAST went last year already, some cracks. The seawall was already damaged. But here in Palo is a natural green belt. And when some of us last year went to visit it, we found all these beach forest species. This was March 22. And I looked up my files of photos 6 years ago. I was on that same island with community members, and it was bare. No, it was bare. And we recommended beach forest species be planted, which they did. And in fact, those trees that we saw were already the results of the planting, of the efforts of the community. So that's proof of concept. Science, you know, really showed that if you have the beach forest, then they will come back. Unfortunately, although we have all these regulations on requirement of Greenbelt zone, 20, 50, even 100 meters wide, it's more in the breach rather than in the compliance. And so this is the Greenbelt bill in 2014 after Yolanda. Senator Bam Aquino In the upper house the next year, Representative Baktokabe filed a bill requiring coastal green belts of 100 meters. Remember, the science said 100 meters. And there's Representative Batokabe. Unfortunately, he was assassinated, and Bam Aquino lost the election. So the bill has been it's almost 10 years now, no? 2014, it's still there hanging in Congress. So good luck to that bill, which is really based on science. So these are the documents for beach forest species. And many of our towns and cities are named after beach forest trees. You can see in italics the scientific name and in parentheses the common name. Bituon, Botong, Bitaog, Dapdap. These are all familiar names to you. For example, this is Banilag in Cebu and in Dumaguete, but the Cebuanos do not even know that it is a tree. This is Banago in Bacolod. No more Banago trees. Only the port is named Banago. This is Coron-Coron, Hernandia nymphifolia, after which most probably Coron was named, and the other Coron places. And finally, this is Talisay, no? So beloved of all Filipinos. We must have what? 2-3 dozen towns named Talisay, Terminalia catapa, beach forest species. And of course, Molave, which is Mulawon, or Tugas in the south. The biggest one I saw was in Virac. Here, you can see how big it is. But I feature this because this is part of our history. A very famous poem, at least for the senior citizens among us, will remember the poem by Zulueta da Costa, Like the Molave. Not yet Rizal, not yet, sleep not in peace, so that until our people become like the Molave, firm, resilient, staunch. So this is a beach forest species. Unfortunately, this is no longer taught, I think, in schools like the Molave. Anyway, so hard, no? The wood that you have what? The lusong, the planggana, posts, all these household materials, a plow, chair, and this is not ceramic. This is wood of Molave. And in Catholic Church in Panay Capiz, the posts, haligi, are made of Molave trunks going back 1700. So these are centuries old wood, really hard wood. Now we come to food. These are just uses very quickly of beach forests. If you are from the south, the best, ladies, ingredient for kinilaw na isda is really tabon-tabon, the seeds of tabon-tabon, which this is the tabon-tabon is another beach forestry. And also salads, other beach forest species and herbs for salads. But I'd like to highlight the bangkal tree, Nuclea orientalis. Lower in red square is the fruit of bangkal. But it is so common in Western Visayas that there is a pastry called binangkal, patterned after this fruit. You know, this is our culture, no? The beach forests interwoven into the culture in Western Visayas. And even the local government of Kabangkalan, because bangkal is the tree, and many bangkal in Kabangkalan has the bangkal trees incorporated in its logo. So another beach tree is pandan, and the fruits can be eaten. There are 30 varieties in South Pacific. Some of them have big fruits for eating, others have leaves for weaving. Here, this would be a very good project for local communities if they have pandan. Another tree is what the Tagalogs call kalumpang and the Ilonggos call bubog, Sterculia fetida. And the flowers are very beautiful, except that they smell. That's why it's called fetida. But anyway, in Iloilo, in Mandurriao, there was a grove of about a dozen of them, which we tried to save. But of course, beach forests do not have legal protection. So of course, development, a Trump environment. And so no more, only in my images we see these kalumpang trees. But I highlight this because the seeds are delicious, whether eaten raw, but you should not have too many of those, or roasted in a slow fire to replace, all these imported nuts, the pecans, pistachios, very expensive that every Christmas time we purchase. No, why don't we use these seeds of the kalumpang tree? Because I spent my birthday last week climbing to go to this kalumpang tree, about 6 to 7 meters in diameter. Here's the crown, and fallen are the fruits, the pods with the seeds there. And one tray has 1 kilo. I counted about 650 seeds. This was just 2 days of collection. Can you imagine how many seeds, how many nuts that this giant tree, centuries-old tree, will have that is not being utilized by industry? They should promote this. We have many kalumpang trees, also in Iloilo. Plus medicines. This one is not exactly beech forest, but this is the argao tree, the pitu-pitu. You see the leaves here used in the 7 leaves for the tea. And of course, noni with juice, sold about 1,000 pesos per gallon over the internet, both medicinal. And I'd like to highlight, this is relatively unknown, mambo, beech forest, the fruits and the flowers, because these packets here are of kratom powder. A colleague over social media posted this. He was very happy that his brother, who had cancer, the last stages, finally could avail of this. This is a painkiller, a kratom, no? It helps with cancer patients and other patients, but is not used in the Philippines. It's not made in the Philippines. We have the trees, but nobody knows how to make this. So this is again an unexploited resource that we should have. So this is from a friend, Gimara. She gave me seedlings, and I have about 3 of these now in my tree park that a student is trying to work on. So traditional medicine uses beech forest because in the old times there was no botica, no. The botica of old Filipinos were the beech forest. They would go to the beach and get their botica. For example, the fruits of botong. This is the botong tree in La Salle College. Is again medicinal. So now we have about 160 species of beech forest. About 80 of them are trees, and they could theoretically be planted because they start only from the beach, but they go up to 200 or even 400 meters above sea level, depending on dispersal by the birds and the bats, and therefore they can be used for lowland reforestation. So how do we do it? Now, this is part of the project that will be proposed to Zonta, to start a nursery with seeds. These are all beech forest species, or with wildings, no, from the forest. And this is my nursery that I started in 1998, 2000, producing seedlings and outplanting in 2006 and 2008 to our tree park here. This was a barren rice field when we started. The reason I had collections of seeds were for the books that you saw, no? So to write a book, you have to measure the seeds, everything. And I don't throw seeds away. I always plant them. So this was the tree park that we had here, an ex-rice field that became a biodiverse park. This is a hard pan because it was a rice field. A hard pan from the constant plowing soil hardens, no? Like what you see below. And during summer, there's no water because this is really an impermeable barrier. No water comes up. So we had to provide water to the seedlings that we planted, even bringing them in from Iloilo City. And during the rainy season, it fills up with water. It does not percolate below because it's a pan. That's why it's a hard pan. And the seedlings, when they turn yellow, you know that that's already too much water. Like here, this is during the rainy season, you see this water below. So very challenging, but somehow the beech forest seedlings that I planted survived. So this was in 2008. And this is now what it is. You see all these trees that we have, but there are spaces in the center because I reserve this for structures in the future. So this was in 2009 above here, and now this was 2021. I should get 2023, but it's full of clouds. So as of 2016, the surviving species of beech forest, almost 90% of the beech species survived. But the non-beech species like dipterocarps, only less than 20% survive. So this is an extreme environment, and the beech forest species are really suited to them. So as of 2 years ago, 80 total species that we had planted. For example, this putian, just very quickly here from 2009 to 2022, these are my family albums of my, what I call my babies. The dita from 2000 something, 5 to 2021, just the very same tree. Balu in Tagalog, again, 2012 to, this was 2017. So this will be part of the project that will be proposed. And you can see that over the years, I had produced F1s, that's the anak of 30 species, and F2s, that's the apo of 15 species of beech forest trees here. And so they are ideal for lowland reforestation, and the technology is there, the protocols. We have a manual on nursery and outplanting of beech forest trees. These are the mother trees, and since 5 years now, I have been sending out seeds, for free. It's just courier, cash on delivery. You just pay the courier, and this is our house. It's very magulo, and we go to the courier. So that's 5 to 8 batches a year. And in one batch, I saw 27 people and about up to 12 species of native trees per batch. And this is dispersal of our native flora. And so not only our house, but the garage and the garden and the kitchen, they're all seeds. Talagang magulo. And even the bedrooms have seeds. Because this is biodiversity, I think, for me, this is how you spread the biodiversity. So bani is a beech forest species. I made the seedlings, that's the F1, the anak, outplanted the anak here, at nanganak si anak in 3 years, 2011. So in 3 years, you have 3 generations. Ang aga manganak, no? It is the opposite of family planning. Sa family planning, gusto mo huwag manganak. Dito gusto mo manganak kaagad. Another feature of bani, this is my number 1 species, is it's so aggressive. If you look at the upper photo, 2016, equal ang spacing nila, 5 meters, the 3 beech trees. But in 2 years, wala na si bani or baluk-baluk, inabraso na niya, It pushed the 2 to each side. So it's very aggressive, and it's really perfect for reforestation. So here, 2015, this is just in one glance, but to show, in 2011, mga 1 to 2 meters pa lang ang diameter of this tree. But by 2020, nag 10 meters na yan kasi yung mga anak niya nandyan na. So, many seeds. This is the tree. You see, this is easily 10 meters na ang diameter, and these are the daughter trees are below her. And when I send out the seeds, all I ask for the recipients are to send me back the baby photo. So ito na yung binalik nila. Mataas ang germination rate talaga. Very high. Here you can see this upper graph. Oops. Naku, what happened? Shows 0 to, I think, 90 days. And bani or Miletia pinnata is less than mga 5 days lang nag-germinate na. Easy germination. Below is also germination rate from 0 to 100%. Mataas naman si Miletia pinnata, 96% germinated. Wow, what an ideal species. Tapos widespread availability. We had 8 sites that we surveyed in ZSL, and this Bunny was found in all of the sites. Prolific, ang daming seeds. We said early germination, high survival, early reproduction, and aggressive. So that's your perfect species talaga for reforestation. And 2 years ago, I saw this on social media from the Indonesian Ministry of Forestry and also C4. They had zeroed in on this bunny, which they call, the old name is Pongamia pinnata. All the uses, and then all the characteristics, why it is perfect, and they planned to, at that time, maybe they already have planted, to reforest 8,000 hectares of degraded forest in Indonesia. So they did their homework, no? So bakit tayo hindi? We don't see this kind of research from DNR. Otherwise, we should have already promoted this species, no? All the uses pa, and all the services pa. So it's really a perfect species for reforestation, because it's a beech forest species, which in general they have thin leaves, thickened cuticle, low habit, multiple stems. All of these are characteristics to survive the extreme environment in the beach of waves and salt spray and hangin, kung ano pa, no, lack of nutrients and lack of water. So these are your perfect species for deforestation. Now, we are already required by this Republic Act, all 12-year-old Filipinos to plant 1 tree every year. But ito naman ang information that came from DNR. Included ang exotic tree species. Why? Why exotic? And also indigenous. But indigenous, mahogany is exotic. Acacia is exotic. So medyo kulang ang science. No? Even the science here is not really correct. So now we have local governments wanting to plant 100 million, 200 million trees. So where are the protocols for that? My reply is beech forest super spreaders, the natives, and then in our tree park, may wild recruits that came in, no? So this is the message to NGP, is to learn the lessons. Wag na yung exotic species, wag na yung bamboo, and wag na ito. Later, I will show this. These are the super spreaders. I call them because, for example, this baraybay. This was 6 years ago, isa lang, and then 2 babies. And this was just 2 weeks ago. You can see already, this is easily 10 meters na, no? Yung mga anak niya. Either from the seeds or from the sapling. So you plant only 1, you get 10. Same with bunny. These are the babies below the mother tree. And these others, this is bitaog and mulave. Hindi naman sila nag-self-spreading. It's the birds and the bats that spread them, no? Wildings. So if we compute for lowland reforestation, if you're really serious, if you use super spreaders, SS, 10-meter distances, you need only 100 seedlings per hectare. But if you use non-super spreaders, 5 by 5 distancing, you need 400. Ang laki ng savings, no, in planting, because they help themselves. So these things, wala ito sa forestry books natin. These are the wild recruits. Bangkal that we mentioned, all propagated, dispersed by the birds. Hindi ko ito tinanim. They just appeared in our tree park, ng Argao. But here we go to government. Bakit go? Exotic species of Gemelina and Indian tree. Ito siya, maraming snakes dyan because walang branches. Danger to public health. Ang mahogany naman, these are 1 kilo heavy fruits. I weighed them, no? If you have this in the plaza and you walk by and it falls on your head, delikado. It's a danger to public safety. And yet in Iloilo, this is the Maasin Iloilo watershed of 7,000 hectares reforested. 60% yung reforested, mahogany and exotic species. So, nung nag-Typhoon Frank, bumaha pa rin despite the reforestation. And why? Because mahogany and other exotic species, they release toxic substances, no? So that kill the fungi and the bacteria. So walang microbiota to decompose, walang organic matter, walang absorbent soil, the water, parang semento ito, no? The rainfall just from here just went down to Iloilo City. That's why bumaha ang Iloilo City. That's why for watersheds, talagang these exotics are not, should not be planted. So here we come to the National Greening Program. In 2015, it was 6 billion pesos to plant 1.5 billion trees on 1.5 million hectares, puno. And the COA, the same year, said it was a failure because they plant no non-plantable areas were identified, no monitoring, no partner organizations. So 80% of almost 400 million trees were exotic. And we already saw ang problema ng mahogany, no? So malaking problema talaga ang National Greening Program. And Senator Recto in 2019 gave a very nice privileged speech. Sabi niya, 39 billion pesos over 9 years. And then 1.7 billion trees supposed to be nabuhay. Kung totoo man, it's 32 times the area of Metro Manila. Pero wala. So sabi niya, DNR should show the forest, the green carpet from sea to shining sea. Pero wala. They are all reports. Sabi niya, the proof of the planting is photos, aerial maps. Pero wala. And he asked the question, ano ang dahilan? Bakit hindi nabuhay? May wildfires ba? Or lunod ba sila by drowning sa ulan? Or did they commit mass suicide? Of course, he was being facetious. But the point is, wala yung the records, the evidence does not match the records. And this is our money. The taxpayers tayo, no? These billions, let us not laugh because pera natin yan sa taxes. So, yet, in spite of that, this is from social media up to 2020, Zambales, Acacia, Cotabato, Gemelina, Agusan, my home province, Mahogany. Still, it goes on, no? So, ano ba? And even the National Greening Program, ito, mga coffee and mga commercial trees. So, are the species for timber ang nasa watershed and reforestation areas? Bakit ito ang tinatanim, no? And especially bamboo. Now, si Giselle asked me about bamboo ito. The previous DNR secretary talagang was so, the term is besotted of bamboo. So here's your bamboo. They are monocot, single cotyledon. In comparison, let's say, dao is a dicot, 2 cotyledons, no? But the problem is the monocots have very shallow roots, fibrous roots, whereas the dicots have deep roots. Kaya, ayan, ng Typhoon Frank in 2008, all these feathery-like things, these are bamboo. Kaya yan, yung landslide, you can trace where the landslides were dun sa bamboo areas because the roots cannot hold the soil. And even recently, ito, sa rivers, ayan, madaling ma-uproot. Again, you can see the fibrous roots, no? It's simple plant anatomy. Very simple science lang. Taught in, I think, high school or even undergrad college. So what should we plant? NGP, not exotics. Natives. But which natives? So I say it should be beach forest species because they are very resilient, full sunlight, inadequate water, and they go up to 200 meters and are therefore ideal for NGP. So with the bare sites, we should plant pioneers like beech forest and not climax flora. And this is a concept of succession. When bare, you have the colonizers here, no? Yung mga ferns, mosses, I think there are some biologists in the audience. And then you have your pioneer trees. Those will be your beech forest trees. And the climax trees, those will be your dipterocarps. So yung dipterocarps, sa climax na yan, no? Ako, I tried dipterocarps in my farm, namatay lahat. In my nursery, namatay lahat. It's just too hot for them. So here, in barren grasslands, and in barren grasslands, we plant beech forest species because they are pioneers. In remnant forests where there are, you need enrichment, that's where you have your dipterocarps, the climax flora at the end. So sana yung science na yun should also be injected. Now, we have a group of native tree group in Panay, and our first meeting with exchange of seeds. Those seeds are from my bani trees, no? And seedlings also. And there are many of these groups now. The mother group is the Philippine Native Tree Enthusiasts, celebrating 10 years in August, 17,000 members, and has spawned a dozen native tree groups all over Mindanao, Visayas, and even Luzon. So these are the initiatives, mini forest park initiative that stopped the tuog. The saving the tuog, PNTE was pivotal in that effort to stop the cutting of the tuog in Mindanao, in Agusan, my home province. And also a lot of webinars. These are some of the daughter NTEs. This is Sonata in Misamis, and Visayas, and so on. And Symposia. Also other groups, the PNPCSI, Philippine Native Plant Conservation Society. That one, they really have officers and other scholarly activities. But I'd like to focus, I'm now into the last part, Nabunturan NTE. Have nurseries. This is the president, attorney, and they give lectures to youth groups, SK, and planting, because they have nurseries. They have many seedlings. So after they lecture, they can plant, and they plant in empty spaces like cemetery, cemeteries, blank spaces, military, youth groups, and bare mountains. And they have a native tree park of the LGU. Now, the nice thing here is that the NGO, Namunturan NTE, converged with the LGU because Attorney Angkla is also on the municipal council, and this is the governor. So when NGO and government converge, then you can see the native trees really reforestation effort succeeding. And there's even a MOA here between the two. And I flashed this, wala palang LGU dito, but anyway, this Mandana's ruling gives LGUs up to 1 trillion pesos for whatever they want to do. And this example, Giselle said, success stories, was even without Mandanas, just the funds of the LGU, Mayor Antonio of Alcala, Cagayan, no? First, they planted kasi bare na yung ano nila. They bought from all over the seedlings. And then they said, why don't we make our own seedlings? And they put up maybe 500,000 pesos nursery. Really state of the art, you can see there. And before that, all this planting, hundreds, thousands of seedlings all over Alcala. No? So this is an LGU success story that should really be duplicated all over. So ito, for LGUs ito, establish a nursery, ganon. For DNR, avoid mistakes, and then governance, pass ordinances. Wala yung for Zonta, but for Zonta, it's really what I have been doing is what we would like Zonta to do. This is a training course on beach forest propagation that we had, so we also have capacity building. And lastly, this will be 5 minutes lang, your ornamentals, because I know some of you are beach resort operators, no? So coastal protection, lowland repo, which number 2 has the major implication for our country. But for you, Zonta ladies, ornamental uses, here, this is Pandan, no? This is in the Calikuan Surf Camp, Eastern Samar, although with Typhoon Yolanda, this was wiped out. But you can see all the beach forest species utilized for landscaping. Another beach resort close to you, San Juan, in Laia, San Juan. The beach forest trees are all there. This is Balu, Cordia subcordata. They have Molave, and I think about 20 beach forest species built into the beach resort, no? And this one, I love this because this is a bogo tree. I don't know, that is Cebuano. I don't know in Tagalog, but this is Garuga floribunda. Really, the main trunk has already bent down, but it's still alive. And I got seeds from this, and I have about maybe 5 seedlings in my tree park from this mother tree. And this is still another beach forest tree. And the third resort in Palawan, I cannot give you the name, but anyway, more beach species, Bantige, Pandan, the sea cabbage that is Kevola Takada. And I'll go very quickly through the next slides just to show the beautiful beach trees. This is the octopus tree. This is in Palawan, the biggest that I have seen. Octopus because the flowers look like the tentacles of the octopus. So this is the same tree. I saw this in Masbate, the biggest octopus tree. Another one is Banago. This was in Sri Lanka. All their beach resorts have this tree, and they put their shade there. Their whatever, not there. Here. But in the Philippines, nobody minds that tree. They are all marginalized. I see them along the margins of fish ponds. And here, this was in somewhere in, I think, Negros. Only the name remains, Banago Beach Resort. Pero wala nang Banago. Wala na itong beach forestry. A sister species is Hibiscus tiliaceus. Hibiscus, you see the flowers, no? Lambago or Balabago. The trunk, not the trunk, the bark is the most important product. It's a bush, so that the hula skirt, the grass skirt, no, it's not grass. It's the bark of this beach forest bush of Hibiscus tiliaceus. So it's planted for shade along the coastline, and also the variegated leaves, no? This is along some highway. So it's a very useful beach forestry. Here, the children climb them, and also for parking. And this is Lanete. In right here, where I live, it's planted as a living fence. It's used as a fence here, and it has very pretty flowers during the flowering season. Another decorative beach forest is the Bantulinaw. Those of you from Visayas, Eastern Visayas, will know this Bantulinaw. A very beautiful small tree. And of course, also more, if not more beautiful, is the Magkuno. Magkuno grows on rocky cliffs here. And right now, the native tree groups, many seedlings of Magkuno are being reared. This one is not so popular, Mercine, but it's still a very nice bush with shiny leaves. And of course, bonsai, if you're an enthusiast, many of these beach forestries can be used for bonsai. These are all beach trees. And in Sugba Lagoon, in Siargao, by the way, if you go to Siargao, you have not visited Siargao until you go to Sugba Lagoon. And this, we thought this was an old tree, red leaves, but no. This is like the trees in, I think, Central Park, New York. You know, in autumn, the leaves turn red. This is piagao. And if we could, again, propagate this, you know, for, and a few others, not for the leaves, but for the foliage. I think some of you have seen this, balitbitan. It's the leaves that are attractive in the Mall of Asia. No, about twice a year. When there are new shoots, you feel like Snow White, no? Nagwa-white yung leaves. Now, this is a pandakaki. Some of you know this. But there's a variety in Bantayan that I saw that the fruits are just so attractive, and I wish this could be propagated commercially. And of course, this is a vine, a mangrove associate with beautiful flowers. It's called the Australian gold vine. And now, luckily, it's now propagated commercially, not available in the Philippines, but in Singapore, in Brunei. In the Philippines, you have to own, but it is very nice for ornamentals. And these are two species that are just newly found. Hindi pa siya na but it's the fruits that are very attractive. So I have seedlings of this that I'm propagating. Another beach forestry, Malakape, with beautiful blooms. Again, they should be commercialized. And there are 5 beach forests. I just put them in one photo. The blooms are really so beautiful. That finally, this is what is called the Singapore Sakura. But it's not Sakura. It's a beach forest, Cratoxylum formosum, Salinggogon in Tagalog. But locally called uringon or ulingon. It's a small tree because the locals use it for uling, kaya ulingon. Because the flowers, these beautiful flowers, can be seen only once a year. The window for the flowers will be only 2 to 4 weeks. So the locals do not see this beauty, no? They see mostly a small tree, softwood, so maganda for uling. So the local name is uringon. But if you wait, 1 month out of 12 for this really beautiful dramatic sight, then hi, tapos na. Thank you. As I said, the mangroves, Giselle, I will ano na lang during the Q&A if there are mangrove questions. Thank you.
Well, I just want to ask if the speaker mentioned that she has a tree farm. Is that open for something like an awareness field trip, wherein I can bring some of members of the LGU and the Ladies Foundation of QC?
Jurgenne?
Yeah, although hindi pa talaga na-develop, I mean, walang paths, that are convenient for walking, pero pwede na because we've had guests like si Mayor Tin Antonio of Alcala, no? She had a blitzkrieg visit. Okay naman siya. If you're really interested in the trees, yun, pwede na siya. Hindi lang siya comfortable kasi I've had no time to really develop, no? I should hire somebody to, but yes, theoretically, it should be open, and summer, that will be up to May, should be okay kasi when the rains come June, July, baka maputik siya, no? But again, kung summer, mainit din siya because we have not planted the whole thing. We've left open spaces, but we can pass under the trees. So yes, the answer is yes.
Where is the farm po, ma'am?
It's in Iloilo City.
In Iloilo. Okay.
Iloilo, it's 20 minutes from the city, actually. Yeah.
Okay, duly noted po.
Yes. When I retired in 2007, nandun pumunta yung aking retirement pay. 20 minutes from Iloilo is not cheap. Iloilo is one of the top cities in the country. So, doon pumunta yung most of my retirement pay, but that's okay.
Yeah, okay. Noted po. I can suggest it to sa Quezon City government pag may lakbay-aral po yung mga barangays. Maybe if Iloilo ang base nila, they can touch base to your farm.
My key takeaway, ma'am, was that all of these reforestation programs have pretty much planted exotic trees, no? Which clearly you do not recommend. You have what you call natives in mind that should be planted, no? In addition to the fact that the past reforestation programs have really not been successful, no? In other words, they get funding, they say they plant, but wala namang talagang nangyayari, no? Okay, and that is the municipality of Mansalay, where our ecotourism enclave is located, is an example of that. No, they've supposedly gotten funding, they're supposed to have planted trees, pero pirmi na lang namamatay. Okay, so my question, so those are just my key takeaways, and I think they're so relevant, no, in terms of holding the government accountable to all of this funding that's essentially being squandered. Okay, now so my question, ma'am, is how do we get, as you say, this participation of NGOs to link up with LGUs, no, to resuscitate and reattempt these reforestation programs? For example, in the municipality of Mansala, it has mountainous regions at the back of the coastline that's occupied by Mangyan communities, no? And so that's the first question. How can we try to revive these reforestation efforts? And in the context of in the Mangyan context, where kaingin, no, is still very prevalent, no? So one of the thoughts that have come to my mind in the event that a resumption, reactivation, or reattempts to reforest the mountainous areas of Mansalay, perhaps there is some accommodation, no? Maybe a portion of the reforested area would be allocated for kaingin. I don't know if that's even correct, no? But so that's my question. Parang to give, apart from giving them livelihood, the Mangyan's livelihood to plant trees, but in fact to allow them a certain portion for their kaingin practices, if that's even viable. So that's my first question, ma'am.
Here in Iloilo City, no, like many places in the Philippines, puro mahogany yung tinanim, mahogany, jamelina. Even in the plazas, malaki-laki ng mahogany. So the mayor, si Mayor Jerry Treñas, it was slow, very slow process, pero eventually na-sold out siya sa native, no? So a group of us, native tree enthusiasts, have started planting sa Molo Plaza. That's the center of Iloilo City. They planted maybe a dozen native flowering trees there. So ang ano, it's a long process. Awareness lang siguro. If you have, first of all, you need a group, a native tree group, or whatever you call it. And then may activity, may nursery, may outplanting. So may makita na results. So si Mayor Jerry, he saw that for some of us, we have nurseries, and then we post on social media all these beautiful flowering trees. So naengganyo siya. And you have to do this pro bono, your time, kasi you attend meetings, ganon, wala namang ano. So that's how we did it in Iloilo. I think in your place kailangan may mass, a critical mass of warm bodies really into native trees. And then with that you have nurseries, you have then you practice first, then you preach. Kasi if you just preach and preach, wala namang makikita so practice muna. And then in the context of the Mangyans, meron namang agroforestry, no? Some of our members, I think in Mindanao, merong agroforestry farm. He gave us a webinar. So may part of his, kasi the objective of the Mangyans is crops, di ba? Food crops. So you can till your crops, but keep certain trees, no? Have some forest trees there. You don't have to clear it completely. So yun, meron din yang there's protocols for that. Ang kulang talaga is the dissemination. Hindi na disseminate kasi yun, agroforestry does not lend itself to commercial exploitation. Hindi pwedeng mass na 1,000 kasi agroforestry is very labor intensive, no? Bagay talaga sa mga small farmers ganon. So I think if you email me or PM me, I can hook you up with yung kung sino yung mga sources of knowledgeable about agroforestry, and even the places that can be visited. I think si Mr. Mabanta, if I remember right, his webinar was on his agroforest. Ang ganda. Pati animals, may animals sa doon, no? So very, very holistic ang niya.
Nung ko lang naman po, kasi saan ako pwedeng makabili ng mga mangrove seedlings? Kasi yung aming property, yung baybay ilog, so pwede ko siyang taniman ng mga mangroves.
Anyway, ito yung background talaga ng typhoons, no? We have our 7,000 islands, very nice looking, kaya lang when we have your super typhoons, yun ang problema, no? We have 20 of those a year. And this is very basic in my lectures. We should know, this is what we should teach our children. Kasi they grow up in an archipelago. So ano bang nasa dagat? May tides, may alon, waves, may storm surge, and may tsunami. Separate yan. No? Kasi yung ating mga media, when Yolanda came, the is coming, the tsunami is coming. Hindi naman yung tsunami yung Yolanda. So basically, the storm surge, they overlap with the tsunami sa height up to 40 meters, 12 meters, but in the length, order of magnitude ang tsunami up to 300, 400 km, ang storm surge is only 4.5 km. And especially the causative factor, ito talaga, this is simple science that can be taught to grades 5 and 6 and first year, second year. Storm surge is in the wind, in the air, atmospheric variation. Tsunami is in the ground, yung earthquakes. Yun na lang, no? Napaka-basic difference that our Filipino school children should know. So ito naman yung, we come now to typhoons. Hurricanes, cyclones, they're all storm events. They have different names, but if you look at ang typhoons, 30% dito sa atin, we are so blessed with typhoons, yung 20 a year, no, compared to the other parts of the country. And so we see all the damage that we get. Yolanda was what? 2.2 billion US dollars. So grabe talaga ka-damaging typhoons. And then, in terms of intensity of the storms or the typhoons, eto naman, the reddest are the most intense. And there's the Philippines na naman, we know, no? So, ganun ka-intense, eto naman yung fatalities. 20,000, it was Haiphong a century ago. But Yolanda had 6,000, but actually you go to Leyte, they will tell you 15,000 yan, 16,000 ang namatay dun sa Yolanda. So, expense, damage to loss of lives and damage to infrastructure. Ayan. Kaya, we need the Greenbelts to protect against it. Pero what happened, no, nung 1 billion pesos was released after Yolanda, ito, warning, storm surge area. We don't need these warnings. We need a Greenbelt. Pwede ba? We don't need these warnings. You throw away those warnings. You put in a Greenbelt. So, ito yung Greenbelts. In Ahoy, that one, that's a Greenbelt. In Aklan, that's a Greenbelt, a belt, paha, that surrounds, no, protecting against from the sea. This is in Vietnam, may green belt, and this is in Thailand, may green belt, and then you have, so pwede kung sa pwede. So, mangroves have all these goods and services, yung coastal protection number 1 talaga, no? Kasi one valuation paper gave of $14,000 to $16,000, most of it was for coastal protection. Ganun katindi ang coastal protection ng mangroves. And this artwork, I like this kasi a mangrove is a house, it provides shelter, a kitchen, may food, pharmacy, mga gamot, and you can say the same for beach forest. But mangroves can also be turned into fish ponds. And this is what Giselle reminded me to include, yung 4:1 ratio. We did a paper in Science in 2008, multi-authored. We looked at the different uses of mangroves. Dito, no? Farming, aquaculture, yung wood, yung fisheries, yung coastal protection. And then we looked at the value of each of the uses in thousands of US dollars, depending on the area of mangroves. So dito sa pink, if you have all zero area of mangroves, of course, high, that means they are all shrimp ponds. But if there are no shrimp ponds, then mababa ang value niya, something like that. Now, altogether, they were combined in this black line. The star here shows the maximum net present value. So those of you in economics will understand this. At what point ng mangrove area na pwedeng ma-maximize ang uses, including aquaculture, including shrimp farming. So, the maximum comes at here, no? 80% or 8/10 or 4:1 mangrove to pond ratio. So this is the basis, this is the science that says we can develop fish ponds, pero we keep 80%, only 20% i-develop into fish ponds or shrimp ponds. So yun ang science. And that's the 4:1 ratio na sana it should be adopted as policy, national policy. Okay, ito yung fish ponds sa Philippines. Daming mangroves went down, ang fish ponds umakyat. Now we say that we should have 4:1, but at present we have parity, tabla, 1:1. So obviously, we need to rehabilitate mangroves. Sonia, I'm glad to see you are there. Ito, this photo of hill, talagang it's in my every lecture that I give, nandiyan yan. This is, you see, the mangroves have turned to fish ponds. Even the rivers have turned into fish pens. So we need to rehabilitate mangroves, seafront planting, seagrass. This is what Zonta did, seafront planting. And then I will end with this. seafront planting. The classic one in Kamsur, 1 million mangroves. This was in 2012, 7,000 volunteers in 1 hour. Okay. Now, if you look at these small things here, these are the 7,000 volunteers planting. But if you look at the mangroves here, Piapi, Avicennia marina. And if you look at the text, yan talaga siya, Avicennia marina, is Piapi. What did they plant? 1 million propagules of bakhaw. Yung bakhaw, if you look again at the text, nasa likod yung bakhaw. You don't plant bakhaw doon sa seafront, no? You don't plant them here. This was 1 month after, buhay pa sila. But a good friend of mine, si Dr. Woodhouse, he really went there and did quadrats, and he found after 4 years, less than 2% ang survival of the bakhaw. Of course, lack of science, wrong species, wrong site, no? Yun. Kung nag-guided lang by science, hindi na sayang yung effort ng 7,000 volunteers at all the money that was spent. Now here is in blue, pagatpat. So we have one alternative species na itanim sa seafront is Piapi, Avicennia. Another is pagatpat. And if we look at this poster in Yolanda, ito yung pagatpat, they survived. And ito yung tinanim na bakhaw, they died. Below yan ang itsura ng bakhaw with all their, what you call this, prop roots. And this is pagatpat to the left, okay? And this is one of my projects going back in 2000 something. We started planting with the local government. No, this was the mayor, naka-blue. And then these are couples, pre-mass wedding kasi couples living in sin, hindi pa kinasal. So sabi ni mayor, yes, I will wed you for free, basta you plant mangroves. So they planted mangroves, and ito naman, blessed naman yung mangroves. Ito na sila ngayon, no? The pagat plantation. So two alternatives to bakhaw. Bakhaw is so convenient lang. Kaya yun, walang science, pero ang dali. Ang Piapi kasi and pagatpat, you have to go through a nursery. It's very inconvenient. So anyway, another LGU initiative of my group is abandoned fish ponds, but this demonstrates the Piapi, Avicennia marina. You see the years, no? In 3 years, this was assisted, so we planted locally available wildings. So in 3 years, close cover na siya. That is Avicennia marina. And we had MOA with this is the mayor, the late mayor, wala na siya, he has passed on, but LGU initiative, yan. And all the plantings were done volunteer labor. Yan pang isang another thing that we part ways with what the government and other NGOs are doing, paid. They pay per piece or per hectare. So nagiging business transaction, they plant, you pay. Bahala na mamatay sila, it doesn't matter, tapos na yung transaction. So kung namatay, you plant again, they pay again. So it is financially sustainable, no? Although this is what economists call a perverse economic incentive. Kami, we don't pay, it's volunteer labor, but we help the PO, the People's Organization, to get their tenure, no, over the mangrove area. Yun lang. So here, this is the hectareage of mangroves in the Philippines, bumaba, but all of a sudden, umakyat, nag-double, and we trace it to the planting on seagrass beds. Ang daming seagrass beds na tinamnan. Thousands upon thousands or 100,000 increase in mangrove hectares is seagrass beds. So we made a poster, huwag naman sa seagrass beds kasi they also have their own fauna. Saan pupunta yung mga dugong and mga marine turtles, no? And so, yan, these are seagrass beds. In Bohol, you see square na square, bakhaw plantations. Pag square, those are planted. But look, these are seagrass beds. So maling site. Stop seagrass planting. And that's where I took. So let me stop my screen share. So yun ang mangroves. The question I think is, where can we buy mangrove? First of all, you check your site. Ano ba? Should it be bakhaw? Ang bakhaw dun lang sa paloob, tidal creeks and rivers. Or should it be pagatpat and Piapi? And whichever, there are POs and NGOs. Actually, ang NGOs, they guide the POs. It's the PO on the ground, no? Doon sa coastline that produce the seedlings. So you'll have to inquire saan yung mga ano na yon, saan yung mga, you inquire from the coastal environmental NGOs if they know sinong may mangrove nursery, and you specify which kind of mangroves you would be interested in. Yeah.
Thank you, Valletta Cavite. Can you please tell us a bit about this?
Claro, that's Bacau, Rhizopora, the big one. There are 3 Bacau sisters.
So,
Amocronata, Apiculata, and Stylosa. Ito, they're about almost 1 meter tall. That's Mocronata, Bacau, babae. And sa loob yan talaga. They go to the muddy tidal creeks and inlets. Sa loob yan sila. Not seafront.
Front of our house in Camotes, ang mga nakatanim doon, puro mga pagatpat. That was when I was small and then hanggang college. And then when I went there recently, 5 years ago, until now, when I visit the place, parang ang dami ng yapi. Yung Avicennia ba yun? Yeah, so, but I read na it's not a very good species or genus dahil it's vulnerable. Tama ba yun?
Actually, if
Kasi,
you yeah, please complete your Sonia, sorry. What else?
because in the past when we have storms, especially serious storms, our place is really well protected because we have such a long stretch of mangroves, yung puro pagatpat, and they are really very strong. Tapos ngayon, yung mga miyapi are starting to, I don't know if they're starting to invade, and so the pagatpat is already being displaced. I'm not sure if this is a phenomenon that can happen.
Thank you for your question. Very interesting kasi since I started working with mangroves, itong dalawa, the 3 mangrove sisters that are very popular are the Bacau, Pagatpat, and Piapi, those 3. And makompare ang Piapi, Avicennia marina, and Pagatpat, they have the same morphology and anatomy. No? They have underground roots, cable roots, and then the pneumatophores come up, okay? But Pagatpat is taller, grows taller, and Piapi is shorter. But I think, and then in terms of a niche, Pagatpat is steno, very steno, narrow, high salinity and sand, whereas Miapi is uri. It can go sand, it can go mud, it can go brackish, it can go high salinity. So I think that's why Miapi is invading, no? But ano siguro, Son, just observe if, because ang experience ko, if Miapi will remain, no? Kaya they have the same root structure and they will remain. They really anchor sa ano. If they are not effective in protection sa kung anong mga storm, then maybe you have to actively plant pagatpat, no? But to do that, pagatpat is very mauti na nursery. Very small, very, very small seeds at very small. Kapoy kayo. But anyway, only if Miapi are not doing the job. But if they are, they are also there, because I've seen this many times in Bacau plantations, no? In fact, in Noveleta, Giselle, maybe some of your Bacau will survive, but some of them will die. And the Miapi, the first to go in will be the Miapi, Avicennia marina. I've seen this many, many times. The Bacau plantations, failed Bacau plantations taken over by Miapi. So, and it's the most common species in the whole world, ang Avicennia marina, because it is so resilient actually. So ano siguro, Son, i-observe lang kung dili siya it does not do the function, then mag-nursery ka o pagatpat, because pagatpat, very few are doing nursery of pagatpat because they are so small. But if the Miapi are lang, I think the only is slow ang growth rate of Miapi compared to pagatpat, because pagatpat are tall. But this is really very nice kay you get to apply your biology and you
Lagi.
try yourself in the of the mangroves, no? But sige lang, let's compare notes.
Yes, sige. Thank you.
One lang, no? Very quickly lang. Yung dita, the one that saved 37 people, many of these, they grow fast, but at the expense of the wood. They're not hardwood, softwood. That's why they can grow tall. Kasi they do not invest, no? That's why pagatpat can grow tall. Soft ang wood ng pagatpat, ang piapi hardwood. So many beech forest species that grow tall are softwood. So in our group, they ask, yung talukto, there's a talukto tree. Sabi nila, ano ba yan, hardwood or softwood? Ay, softwood pala. But no, these trees, hindi naman sila for wood lang. They are not there to provide humans with wood. They are there to protect the coastline. And if growing fast and tall by having softwood will do the job, then give it to them, no? Ganon. And secondly, Giselle, I'm a trained zoologist, by the way. So those of you, you can shift your, you don't have to stick kung yung formal training mo. Sige, Giselle, thanks.
With President Lizelle and President Jonah, we came up with this synthesis, and this is like ongoing while we were having our discussion. Because Zonta is about advocacy and service, so we proposed Zonta knowledge to action points as a result of this first webinar. Okay, so because we are from the private sector, but this will definitely reach the DNR officials, our secretary and our undersecretary, Carlo Primo David, who is works closely with us. We are thinking that we could summarize some of our private sector initiatives this way. Planting of mangrove and beech forest trees. So Dr. Jurgenne told us that we should do it on an individual basis. Okay. Then for those involved in private businesses, like the Association of Beach Resorts and Hotels, and for those involved in NGOs like Zonta, some of us are foundations and Rotary clubs, then all of us could plant the right beech forests and lowland trees and ornamentals, and also mangrove trees. We could support the nurseries that know how to grow the seeds for these plants. It does not have to be Jurgenne's nursery. You could find the right nursery through the people's organizations nearest your property. Okay, we have to learn from the experts on how to grow and plant these seeds ourselves. And for this, Jurgenne is willing to share with us her books. Some of them are e-books or e-manuals. Okay, so that's real action at the start. But at the same time, we have in our Zonta group, our leaders in environmental policy. Some of them are lawyers, some of them are social scientists, they are advocates. And therefore, together, I think in Area 1, we could lobby with government for the passage of the draft Coastal Greenbelt law, maybe as, in the form that is, the bill that is, acceptable to Jurgenne and other mangrove and beech forest scientists. We should follow up with government on the effective implementation of the National Greening Program. As everyone knows, ang daming perang binuhos dyan, aiming to plant hundreds of thousands and millions of hectares, no? Millions. But until now, a few thousands lang. And in some cases, as we were told, planted to the wrong trees, no? Planted with the wrong trees. And then this is very specific because Jurgenne explained this based on the science. We have to lobby with the DA to implement the 4:1 ratio of coastal mangroves to fish ponds. Lobby for the repeal of the DA-BFAR policy that is barring conversion of abandoned fish ponds to mangrove sites. Baka ito medyo madali. Okay, kasi this policy was implemented in a previous administration. So this is something that has to be pointed out both to the DA and the DENR. Now, for our Zonta members who are print and social media experts and advocates, we can publicize the model resorts and communities that are showing good lush coastal green belts, those that were featured by Dr. Jurgenne. And then we can also publicize our prospective or current initiatives of beach forest owners to promote ecotourism and coastal green belt development. So far, ito yung mga naisip namin nila President Lizelle and President Jonah, even while this webinar was going on.
Can I clarify lang? First, yung Greenbelt Bill, DNR is supporting an integrated coastal management bill na nandun nakapasok siya, and we were against that, NGOs, kasi it's a humongous bill and will never see the light of day. We were after just splitting it talaga. It's short and sweet. Yung coastal Greenbelt, siya lang. It's so urgent. It was needed yesterday. So if you can somehow get the ear of the secretary or si Yusek David about this, no? Kasi kung nasa ICM bill siya nakatago, good luck to it. That's first. Secondly, yung fund reversion, hindi naman, they don't have a policy barring. They only have that aqua silviculture. Yeah, it's a policy. It's in their administrative order 197-1. They can already, what do you do with AOs? Delete AOs or ano? Kasi yun ang, by that means, they're holding on to the abandoned fish ponds na may mangroves na dapat nasa DNR. So, it should really be DNR and BFAR. Actually, there are already initiatives on the regional level. Kung maano lang yun, ma-encourage lang yun, no? For the convergence of BFAR and DNR so that this area na abandoned, na may mangroves na, sige na, ibalik na siya administratively and biophysically. That's the second. And lastly, yung project, I should not forget to mention that actually when we first talked, since we first talked mga weeks ago, I already contacted local, yung si Maricel nga, and they're already thinking of a place for a nursery of this beach forest, kasi I will provide the seeds, and they have the nursery, they have the people, and a place. We have a 1-year lead time to grow the seedlings to 1 meter tall, 1 to 2 years, to look for places na kung saan itatanim for reforestation. So they can be tracked down, the forest growing year to year. It can be a pilot place, that a model, a template for how lowland repo is to be done. So that thing is ongoing. I will communicate with you lang kasi we are going to meet face to face and come up with a basic proposal and budget. But I have the seeds na my mother trees are producing seeds. Dinatago ko na yung seeds for this project, and I am not making a call for seeds for dispersal through Facebook. Dito na, I'm reserving it for this project. Thank you.
This certificate of appreciation is awarded to Dr. Jurgenne H. Primavera for delivering the webinar entitled Shelter from the Storm, Coastal Greenbelts of Mangroves and Beach Forests, dated Tuesday, 28th of February, 10 a.m. Given by our area director, Ph.D. Noni, and our co-presidents, President Giselle, and myself, for the opportunity to close this session. First, I would like to thank and appreciate all our Zonta sisters for attending this very important webinar. I believe that this is an eye-opener for everyone, not just to enjoy the beauty of God's creation, that is our wonderful beaches and other bodies of water in the Philippines,
but we have to take responsibility too in protecting and conserving the mangroves and beach forests. To our speaker, Dr. Jurgenne Primavera, thank you for your heart to consolidate all the information you shared, to bring greater awareness with the hope that this will reach advocacy groups and other key influentials so that we can mainstream this issue to the consciousness of the general public, especially the locals who live nearby. I agree that we should push for more sustainable ways to use, manage, and conserve the mangroves and beach forests so that we will not rob the future generation of the opportunity to enjoy the beaches. What could be the best way forward after this webinar? I believe we should make an assessment of the current efforts of both government and NGOs. But we can start small by adopting a pilot area and partner with an LGU or an institution and other advocacy groups who can provide the technical know-how, complement the necessary resources, and champion our call to action. Again, this is just a pitch. I'm sure that there will be other bright inputs coming from our fellow Zonta sisters, and we will welcome everyone's suggestions.